All right. Hey, thanks everybody for stopping by Brian for Liberty today. I really appreciate it. If you could, please take a second and subscribe to the channel. And if you really like the content, please feel free to share it with your friends. I'm going to jump in real quick here, and we're going to hit right away on the Breonna Taylor story. It's a terrible, sad, tragic story. And there are tons of thought processes and ideas behind why something like this happened. But before we get into that, I want you to take a look at what Lester Holt had to say about this as he's talking about it on NBC Nightly News. Here's the clip.
Tonight, there is growing anger in Kentucky over the police shooting death of a first responder with no criminal record in her own.
And I guess my question is why do we refer to people as a person with no criminal history? What is the purpose of that description of a person that's just an innocent person is what you're saying? What Lester Holt should have said was an innocent person was gunned down in the privacy of their own home by police today. That's what happened. That's the truth of the situation. Why are we saying a person with no criminal history? We're saying that because it reduces the culpability of government agents for killing an innocent person. If we call them an innocent person, we actually describe specifically what happened, which is police kicked in somebody's door in the middle of the night and gunned them down. Now, the first defense I know we're going to hear is, well, they were fired upon. They were fired upon by a legal gun owner who had every right to defend his home. No-knock raids shouldn't be a thing. They shouldn't be allowed to exist. But we're going to set that aside. We're going to get into the war on drugs and how we're fighting it and why we're fighting it. But most importantly here is when an innocent person is killed, let's stop referring to them as a person with no criminal background and simply refer to them as an innocent person, because we need to recognize exactly what is really happening here. So let's just be clear that what happened to Breonna Taylor is a microcosm of what happens when the government decides that it knows what's best for its citizens and that they are going to pass laws to protect you from yourself. The war on drugs is not a war against drug cartels, and it's not a war against gangs. It's not a war against drug dealers. Those are all symptoms of the war on drugs. The war on drugs is a war against people who would choose to use drugs. That's it. That's what the war on drugs is. This is the government that has decided that this type of behavior is offensive, or that this type of behavior is a risk that you as an individual person should not be allowed to take. So we are going to intervene on your behalf for your own good to keep you safe from your own decision-making process. That is what the war on drugs is. Everything else is secondary. We don't view the war on drugs as a war against individual citizens. We view it as a war against drug cartels and gang violence. That's not what it is. Those things are a symptom. Okay, I can't emphasize that enough. The criminalization of drugs led to the war on drugs. And Breonna Taylor is an innocent victim of this war. Okay, she is the civilian that gets caught up in this crossfire. That's what happens. So if this is particularly important with what's going on in our society right now, today, as it relates to our current health crisis. We are facing a battle between individual liberty and the ability for people to assess and make their own decisions regarding risk, and the government intervening on our behalf to make us safe. This is the fight that we're fighting right now. COVID-19 is simply a coronavirus, one of many. We kind of understand how these things operate. We know that over the summer months, there's a reason flu season, right, ends kind of in the spring. We know that going into the fall, a coronavirus is going to be able to have a higher survivability rate, and it will probably promulgate through society better come fall than it will through the course of the summer. And we have to make a decision between now and then as to whether or not we can trust people to make their own decisions. And when you say that 3,000 people, or when you see on the news that they're reporting that thousands of people are gathering at this event and all these people are taking this lightly and they're not wearing protective gear and they're not social distancing, those people are all making an individual decision and assessing their own level of risk. They're either allowed to do that or they're not. Now, what you're going to say is, but it's contagious and it can make other people sick. That's true. But those people can't make you sick unless you also choose to go out into society and engage with them. You'll say that some people have to work. They're going to lose their unemployment benefits if they don't go and work. That's true. But to some extent, liberty has risk. Freedom looks risky. Freedom has some danger. COVID-19 is being proven to have a very, very low mortality rate, less than 1%, and healthy people with no underlying conditions. So we know who needs to protect themselves. We know who needs to isolate themselves. For the odds of you dying from this disease? Is it worth surrendering your liberty? And to an extent that we've never really seen before, in terms of your businesses being forced to shut down. People's livelihoods are literally being taken away. Baby showers are being broken up. People are being arrested for taking their kids to the park and playing. Is that level of government intrusion worth the risk, offsetting the risk of dying from COVID-19? Is it worth it? That's an important question to ask, because these are major decisions we're going to be making moving forward. And as a libertarian, I can't help but think that if we look back through history, the worst things that have ever happened, the worst examples of human suffering have always come at the hands of a government with too much power, determined to create a world in which it envisioned its utopian vision or its utopian scenario coming true. That's what we've seen historically. The worst things that have ever happened in human history have happened from governments that have too much power. So our desire to be safe and secure has to revolve around the fact that the greatest amount of personal freedom, the greatest amount of liberty, is our first condition that we need to be safe and secure. And everything else falls off of that. So as we move through the summer, as these things are slowly opening, we have to watch that as this virus will spread. It's a virus with no vaccine and no immunity. It's going to spread as we reopen, as people start re-engaging in society. It's going to start spreading. We have to be very careful and very vigilant against the fact that government is going to try and use this as a excuse to reassert itself into our lives and further restrict our behaviors. And we just have to be vigilant against that, because our freedom and our liberty is the number one priority in terms of keeping us all safe and secure. So thank you very much for stopping by. I know it's a short video today, but I just wanted to get this out, wanted to comment on that real quick and draw that parallel between the war on drugs and personal safety, and why we shouldn't be letting government make those kinds of decisions for us. I will be trying to get videos out. Again, I always say this, I'm going to try and get them out as quickly as I can. Look for a new video tomorrow. And thank you all. And as always, we'll see you next time.